Come on, you Reds. Hello, guys. We are back. To my left, we've got the wonderful Matt.
Morning, Dan. How are you?
I'm good, you?
Yeah, not too bad. I was off at the Millsy book launch thing last night, so I'm a bit bleary-eyed and I've been rubbing my eyes, so it's a bit early in the morning, so I apologise for that. But other than that, okay.
Was it a good night?
Yeah, it was. They had 6 or 7 of the old Miracle Men, John O'Hare, Robbo, Colin Barrett, and a few others, Lloydie, Gary Birtles, and Kenny Burns were there. So it was a good night. Yeah, Bring Gunn as well.
Oh, nice. At least he sets up for Saturday's game.
Yeah, got a busy few days. We've got a busy week, haven't we? 2 weeks and nothing but England sort of spanking non-entity teams, and now it's back to proper football. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm going down there tomorrow. I guess you are?
I'm not, unfortunately. I'm
You're
at work.
No. Oh, well. So, yeah, I'm making the trip back to my sort of stamping ground. It's one of my more local clubs from when I was down there. So I've seen them play there a few times. So it'll be nice to go back. I gather the food's very good as well. So I can. That's my insight on the catering side of things. But I'll let you know next week.
Yeah, I mean, Reading is quite a nice ground, actually, to be fair. I mean, on the pitch, and off the pitch, not seem to be working, but they've got nice facilities.
Yeah, I spent more time going to the local Costco that's just around the corner. So that was I saw it more times when I was visiting Costco than when I was going there for football. But there we go.
Yeah. Obviously, Reading away. I mean, last couple of years, it's been one of them more draws than anything, and more late goals than anything in any other games.
Yeah, it's an interesting challenge, isn't it, tomorrow? Quite one of those sort of pivotal games. We win these and we're looking up. You lose them and not so much. So it's important, I think, we keep the momentum going.
Definitely. I mean, Reading, they've got quite an aging squad like Derby has. I mean, especially at the back. So if we get our front three firing, we might be looking quite good for it.
Yeah, again, it'll be interesting if Cooper stays with what he's done previously, or whether he's come up with some new ideas during the 2 weeks off, and he sort of, the likes of a Jada or whatever, or he sort of mixes up his wing choices. And I guess the striker as well. I mean, I guess Graben's going to start. You would imagine, but it'll be interesting. It'll be nice to, like I say, get back to. And yeah, well, actually, the other thing is he's got those quick free games, isn't he? So you would think at the middle game he might think potentially about resting the likes of the Grabens of this world. So yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, you can see at least the Luton game being the sort of, change it around a little bit, but not change it around too much, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you're seeing a pattern with him, aren't you? With all the subs, typically it's Maicon coming on first and so forth. So I don't know. I think he's, we will see more changes from him now, I bet, but because he'll be getting to know the squad better, and but time will tell.
Definitely. I mean, it's not like we had 2 weeks. We'd have 2 weeks off of no football, and it's like, Reading away. It's like, I mean, they all got rid of John Swift as well.
Yes,
their main player.
Yeah, we've been linked with him, haven't we? A little bit. I don't know how much truth there is in that, but they're going to start thinking about new signings and what they want to do. Loans a few players out, maybe. I don't know. Coming up to the window in January, it's just amazing how quick the weeks fly by.
Yeah, I mean,
personally, I hate these breaks. In the old days, you never had any of this nonsense, so it was a lot better. But it really wrecks the sort of momentum, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, this last 2 weeks, it's all we've been talking about is the loan signings. Could this be saying, could they be going? But it's probably not.
Well, yeah, I think we typically rely on them too much. I always think they should be the sort of, I don't know, the emergency things around the edges. Again, that's kind of the old-fashioned way of looking at it. But we seem to have been relying primarily on loan signings for the last, well, I don't know, 3-4 years or whatever. So, yeah, it's quite a pivotal thing, isn't it, for us? You know, we always make the most of it, and we tend to play a few of them. And yeah, we're particularly worried about the fullbacks, aren't we, at the moment, because they're all playing around with that. I personally, my feeling is there's too much. Really, it's more mind games than anything. I'm not clear, actually. I've had 2 different stories about old Spence when his contract runs out. What is it? Is it this year, or has he got 2 years?
I've heard it.
Yeah,
It's one of those ones because I heard that they gave him like a short-term contract, like just to keep him, just in case if he does go out on loan, and it does go well, then they kind of got that something in this to extend it.
Oh, so it's maybe that's why. Maybe it ends this year, but there's an option or something, and they could trigger it or something like that. You would imagine, but I don't know. We'll never know. I always think that clubs will deliberately, if a player's doing well, they'll deliberately make noises about bringing him back and all this kind of stuff if they want to sell it. Well, not necessarily if they want to sell it, but just to sort of up his price, up his value anyway, whoever might want to buy him, or just to make him seem more attractive. So I don't know. I just hope we hold on to them. And I think, well, both of them would be fantastic signings if we can get hold of them, and, you know, should be our top priorities, really, because, you know, they're young and they're proving themselves to be very handy, and they're very key to what Cooper's doing, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we have got not more left back. Left back seems to be our Achilles heels, but our right back, it seems to be like very quite equipped.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've also seen things. Finn Back has to go out on loan and all this kind of stuff. I mean, yeah, I tend to agree. Possibly he should go out on loan. Personally, I'd like to see Mighten go out on loan, probably as well. Again, you don't know what cards you're going to be dealt. You don't know whether you're going to get more players in or have to get rid of players or lose players. You don't expect to. So, you know, it would be interesting to see. But I'd like to see Mighten get a lot of games under his belt. Probably League One, and Back probably would benefit from the same thing. So, you know, and I'm sure there's others in the same boat.
Yeah, I mean, I know. I mean, I touched up on about Alex Martin wanting first team football in a week. I can't remember Tuesday or Wednesday. It'd be nice for him to actually get out on loan as well. I mean, I was sort of saying about when the under-23s played Tuesday against Kimberley Manus Welfare in the cup, and I was saying like that'd be quite a good experience for them. Yeah, fair enough. It's only Kimberley's Manus Welfare, but they're all quite experienced players. I mean, they've been there, got the t-shirt, and they they won, and they probably give them a really good lesson instead of playing under-23 football.
Yeah, Mighten, compared to Brennan, how Brennan's progressed, and his progression's been kind of stellar in a straight line. You know, Mighten's been kind of up and down, back and forth. He hasn't had the, it's partly, well, not his fault, but he's just been being on the fringe of the team hasn't been good for him. I don't think. I think he needs a run of games, and he's probably doing him more harm than good, being in and out and being expected. I think the same thing that Carvalho suffers from when he plays for 5 minutes here and there. He's not the kind of player that can just pull it out in 5 seconds. But give him 90 minutes, they'll do 1 or 2 significant things probably, and perhaps create a goal, score a goal. But whether you're going to get in those 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, probably never will. And it probably hurts their confidence and their belief in themselves as much as helping the team or anything. So, yeah, I mean, it's a big deal. And I think with our squad, it's important that we do use the bench, and Cooper being very good at it. So it's a 15-man game these days, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think he'd benefit.
I mean, I reckon we might be using it a lot more this next week or so, especially with Reading and Luton and West Brom. I reckon we probably will utilise it a lot more than. Not saying that we should try and take completely everything, but
it's difficult, isn't it? That's the whole thing. You want to have players you can slot in that are confident ready to step in and know they
Yeah.
can do it, and their teammates understand them and stuff. So yeah, I always think it's a huge part of football these days to have good subs, and there's a lot of teams that use it very strongly. The teams which gets those late goals, well, we've been doing fantastically well with it since Cooper's come in. We're probably the best example at the moment. So, it's an important thing he's got to learn, and we've got a few cards though he hasn't played. Like I say, Carvalho, Jada, and even Silva. You could say we haven't got a clue what he's like, and those three, you'd like to think they're good enough to contribute something because, well, one of them you spend a lot of money on, the other one you give them a huge long contract to, and the other one similarly, I guess. So why are they at the club if they're not going to be able to do something? So yeah, he's got to give them a chance, but it's tricky, like you say. You don't want to throw everything up in the air, drop players that are performing.
Yeah. The other main thing that I've been questioning is, would you keep that back four, or would you change it to a back three? It's quite a good dilemma now to have that we could play either formation and we look as comfortable with either.
Yes, it's been surprising, hasn't it? Before you do that, you think, "Whoa, it's a big thing," and it's a big commitment to one or the other. But like you say, it seems like you can switch back and forth during a game, and players are equally comfortable. They're not in practice. You can go, when it's a black three and you're asking all the defenders to play more football. Some of them will be more comfortable with it than others, but it's working. It's equally effective, isn't it? So I think it's horses for courses. Like the fullbacks typically, I don't think are the greatest defensively, especially Spence. He's a fantastic player going forward, but he's not. You wouldn't want to bet your mortgage on him, doing the right thing defensively, being switched on the whole time. But personally, I'd start with a back three away from home, typically. Oh, sorry, a back five, whatever you want to call it. But three centre halves. I tend to always start with three centre halves. I think it's a nice, strong basis for us, and we've got three good centre halves at the moment. If one of them gets injured or whatever, then you've got problems, haven't you, though?
Yeah.
You've got old Mbeso and this Eli guy who never seems to be fit. But, we've got three good centre halves, and it's a good, solid base for the team. So away from home, I think it's probably the safe option, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. After them two, we have got quite a few good under-23s to step up as well. So, we're quite good in that area, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, we've always had way too many, haven't we? We've had pretty good players rotting. So you don't want that. That was one of the things they were talking about last night, having a small squad. They're talking about Gary Mills being like the 15th player or whatever. And I think it's a positive thing myself. I think it's nice to think now and again you might have to rely on a kid coming through if someone gets suspended or injured or whatever. I'd always rather have a smaller squad and have more of them involved. They always say, complacency, you need to have three players for every position. Yeah, of course you do to an extent. You can't have it where one guy gets booked and then you haven't got any left back at all. But I'd like there to be less depth than we've had recently. So, you don't want bomb squads. You don't want people never playing because they're no use. When you bring them back, they're no use invariably. And, we write them off. I'd rather you pick your players and you just kind of stick with them and you demand that they play well. You pay them just the same, don't you? Yeah. So, again, it's going to be interesting to see what Cooper does. I predict he'll probably do similar to what he's done every other game, and it probably will be a back three centre halves, and it will probably be a team we can all guess pretty much. It's just maybe the wingers, whether it's a Lolly or a Zinkernagel or something like that, which will be the slight twist. And I think the other thing is with the three centre halves, it gives you it's a really obvious thing to do. You fall a goal behind, you take off. It's always Figs that goes, so you take off Figs, and then you've had a look, and you can bring on the right player as an offensive option. So it makes sense, doesn't it? Really, you start the other way, and then it's a lot more complicated when you want to change things.
Yeah, I do actually agree with that. Actually, to be fair, it's one of them ones you just got roll the dice and it's either go one way or the other.
It's football. It's simple, really, isn't it? I mean, again, they were talking about it last night. There's no tactics. It's just like you play on the right, you run up and down the right. When the guy on the left's crossing the ball, you come in. It's simple stuff. You don't do it, you don't play. You know, you impact the game. They all know how to play football. They like you say, switching the formations. They're all relatively comfortable with it. It's more difficult for some of them when they're asked to play when that's not their game. And they're good defenders. They just want to defend. They'd rather not have the ball at their feet. They'd rather the other team have the ball. That's their strength. But you know, that's football. That's what the whole game's about. And I'm, you know, it's been a breath of fresh air. Cooper actually want to go out there and play football. And, you know, we've been successful at it. So, happy days.
Very, 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 to be fair. What would be your scoreline for tomorrow?
I think, again, it's like the team, isn't it? Every week you kind of say now 2-1, don't you?
Yeah.
Things like if you ask me, I'd have to say 2-1 again, but I think I say 2-1 every big week. But I always fancy us to win. I always fancy us to go for it. And away from home against a decent team, you're probably going to concede one, aren't you? So, but I always fancy us in a game of football now because we will change. If we concede the goal, we'll change things and we stand a good chance to get them back. So let's say 2-1. What about you?
I reckon 2-0.
2-0, you're more confident. Yeah, well, exactly. It could be. It's nice that we're all predicting wins though now.
Yeah.
Like, what month is it? Are we going to score a goal? Sort of thing. No, you expect us to get a couple of goals a game now. So it's just a question of whether you can keep a clean sheet and whether you can win the tactical battle. So no, before it was always you can see the goal, you got problems. And it was all about the first goal. And I think that's a massive thing as well, because if you're playing in a team where you think you're set up to try and survive and you can see the goal, it kills the game, doesn't it? Whereas if you know, right, we've got a plan for this, we've done it before, different. You're still in the game, you're still alive. So, yeah, 2-1, 2-0 for you, then we'll see.
Yeah, definitely. I'd like to say thank you for Matt for coming on.
Thanks very much, Dan.
So